Sup everyone, I'm the cartoon physicist and this is Noughtie, taking apart the good, the bad and the forgotten of the new millennium. Today I'm going to be reviewing a show that's largely forgotten. Hell, I heard online that a lot of people thought they imagined it. Kinda suits the show considering it's about imaginary creatures. Allow me to present Special Unit 2.
Isn't this the part where you try to run away?
Surprisingly, no. I'm absolutely fine reviewing this show. After all, I did say I was going to review good shows on my show. Okay, maybe the opening doesn't give a good first impression. It seems like the opening to a generic 2000s undercover cop show. Which I swear it isn't. Although, you gotta admit, the theme song is awesome. Anyway, this is Special Unit 2, created by executive producer of 24, Evan Katz, and it first aired on UPN between 2001 and 2002. Yeah, it didn't last very long. The first season only consisted of 6 episodes, and the second season was only a little longer, having 13 episodes. It makes me sick to my stomach knowing that Dino Squad lasted longer than this show. Well, technically there's only 19 episodes, excluding the unaired pilot. But each episode's length makes up for how short-lived the show was. Every episode is 40 minutes long, instead of the average 20 minutes. Now you would think the 40-minute length would make each episode drag, but it doesn't. The people behind the show did a good job making sure all the necessary scenes are there without rushing through them. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I mean, you don't even know what the show's plot is. I'll let the booming voice of Richard Gart explain.
You recognize this?
Yeah, they had a chart like this over the board at school.
Well, Darwin was half right. Scientists think they've never found the missing link, but the truth has been staring at them in the face. The monsters of every child's nightmare are the missing links, which is why every culture has the same fairy tale about the same creatures. Baby-eating ogres, virgin-loving dragons, 200-year-old trolls. They're all real. I don't care if it creeps, slithers, or exists in the ether. If it's something the rest of the world doesn't understand or acknowledge, this unit deals with it. And we call everything that's not man or beast lynx. These things love Chicago. Don't ask me why. I wish they didn't. This unit was formed to keep them in check.
I'm only halfway okay about the whole monsters being part of human evolution thing. It makes sense for some monsters being part of human evolution, but some don't make sense at all. Like, for instance, sphinxes. I mean, how does human evolution lead to having a whole body made of stone? Well, at least they got the general idea of how evolution works. Unlike frickin' Dino Squad. Plus, the idea of monsters living amongst humans is more interesting if different monsters' existence shows humans aren't the only intelligent species on Earth, not just have them be part of our family tree. Now, although lynx are a major part of this show's world, the show's plot started with Kate Benson, played by Alexandra Lee, or that woman from Paranormal Activity 4, who will soon become one of our protagonists. She kept seeing lynx for her life. She's pretty much one of the few people in the world who doesn't deny their existence. No, seriously, every muggle, for lack of a better term, even for someone who's not a fan of Harry Potter, is that stubborn about what they see.
Women saying they were taken here by different men, who ended up being the same man, incidentally wrapped in bandages. People are really sick, you know that? Thank God the women are all right. My guess is we're looking for the creep who stole that mummy out of the back of that truck, and he's now dressing like him.
For most of her life, people have tried to get her to admit there's nothing out there, but her lack of skepticism won't allow her to do so. Despite almost everyone in her life thinking she's a crazy person, Benson managed to have a job on the Chicago police force. Huh. Guess Evan Katz read the Dresden Files. Oh, don't worry, I'll get to you someday. Cambot, I know about the captions. Keep this up and you won't be getting any ram chips tonight. Got it? Good. While she sees patterns, the police see coincidences, even though it's their job to find patterns. But most of the time, she sees the links, and this makes her superiors willing to drop her once they can able to find a way to deem her crazy. This all changes when she finally confronts a Lincoln person, a gargoyle, who is trying to kidnap a little girl. But at the same time, she meets the other protagonist, Nick O'Malley, played by Michael Landis, or the Jimmy Olsen who only lasted one season on Lois and Clark. He saves her life with I don't know, a lightning gun. Ow! What was that for?
You have exceeded the maximum number of atomic roll references in your last review.
But... stop that! Okay, I accept your apology. Just let me continue with my review and stop misbehaving. Got it? Okay then. Rather than follow O'Malley's advice and lie to the police, she does what she always does, tells the truth. And when the truth involves a living gargoyle, well, this was the final straw according to the police force, and Benson gets suspended. Straight afterwards, O'Malley tries to recruit her. Considering what she's been through because of him, it's understandable why she's not happy to see him.
You're under arrest.
For?
Leaving a crime scene. Possession of an unlicensed weapon. You killed that thing.
And it put me in a good mood the rest of the day.
Turn around. Hands on your head. I'll be putting my hands in your pocket.
Oh, and I don't even have to buy you dinner.
Shut up. Now you're coming back there and you're going to tell my captain everything that happened.
So he can think I'm as crazy as you?
You don't know they think that.
Well, we bugged his office. He's on the phone trying to get you committed. By the way, the clock's ticking. We have to stop a massacre, so you might want to hurry it along.
What the hell?
Careful, that's an infrared hair trigger.
Big fiery explosion 8 minutes in on the first episode? I'm starting to like this show. So after that ordeal, O'Malley takes her to the station of Special Unit 2, disguised as a dry cleaners. Huh. The creative Archer must have picked up a few things from this show, I guess. And it's underground in an abandoned subway line, with a tentacle on cleanup. Yep, once you see Cthulhu as a garbage disposal, you realize this show isn't meant to be taken seriously. Hell, the internet admits this show is a comedy. But it's not like one of those full-fledged comedies of parodying urban fantasy or using full-on slapstick. It just simply likes to have fun with its monsters and doesn't let the characters be too boring. Plus, it's not a mystery show either. The characters figure out straight away who the culprit is, and then the rest of the episode is about figuring out how to catch or kill the link of the week. The show is more like a webcomic you would find nowadays than an actual 2000s occult detective show. Now, although this show is very lighthearted, it does have its moments of creepiness. Anyway, because Benson doesn't ignore the links, she's recruited temporarily and then permanently as O'Malley's partner, after they stopped a pair of gargoyles from feeding missing people to their hatchlings. And so season 1 begins. Now, as I mentioned before, season 1 only has 6 episodes, so this season doesn't have a story arc, which is understandable. But the number of episodes is still enough for the audience to get attached to the characters, especially the 2 protagonists, since they take up most of the screen time, and you certainly don't want most of the screen time dedicated to characters you would rather see get thrown off a building. Yes, I'm talking about the 2 main characters all together, not individually, because they really have grown to become one unit. Kate Benson, originally going to be played by Christine Moore, and Nick O'Malley aren't just simply Mulder and Scully. Neither one is skeptical about the links because they've both experienced link encounters in one way or another. Plus, the existence of mythological creatures is fully confirmed in this show, whereas on X-Files is fairly ambiguous. The writers did set up the characters as being opposites like they always do in these sort of shows. Benson is serious about her work and thinks before doing, and O'Malley is always joking around and does stuff without thinking. But the writers did switch a few traits around rather than use the same archetypes. O'Malley is much more of the cynical one, trying to be a smooth badass when he's mostly seen as a misanthropic asshole, and therefore isn't some goofy flirt. Benson is not completely about no nonsense. She's more inclined to her emotions and tries to see the good in everyone. The writers even made O'Malley much more angry than his supposed archetype, but for good reason, his backstory. His first partner in Special Unit 2 was ripped apart into 600 pieces by chameleon Mark Shepard, leaving his partner's children orphaned. Man, that guy is in everything! Anyway, he never really moved on from the anger phase of grief. He just wants to see every link burn and enjoy every minute of it. Now, Benson and O'Malley's partnership has slowly turned into a symbiotic relationship. Benson begins to rub off on O'Malley and becomes more cautious about his job and is much more tolerable of links who aren't killers. In fact, O'Malley now goes through so many lengths to make sure his promises are never broken, like when he tried to make sure his old regular police partner didn't get arrested, or when he tried to clear an innocent man's name and catch the boogeyman so the man's kid can be with him again. Since this is a symbiotic relationship, O'Malley does rub off on Benson as well. Working with O'Malley and facing so many aggressive links have made her more distrustful of links than she did before. I'm not saying she ends up hating them like O'Malley did at the beginning. I'm just saying she's much more willing to fight back now that she knows there isn't good in every single being.
We kill him.
You can't kill him, O'Malley. He's already dead.
You know what I mean. Can we shoot him?
No internal organs to disrupt.
And we'll light him on fire.
Not internally flammable.
Drown him?
How many more ways of hurting things can you think of?
Now, the only
If I said you tried to escape, no one would blame me for taking you out.
Your partner wouldn't let you. She has a highly developed moral sense. Don't you?
Not that highly developed.
Yeah, you can see they're not the best actors on this show. The supporting casts are much better. Captain Richard Page, the head of the unit, who was most likely promoted to this position after the Lebowski case, is a typical hard-ass commissioner/chief type character. But the character isn't made goofily angry by everything the characters do just to provide humor. Richard Gant turns in a great performance by playing the character as serious as he can, even in a not-so-serious world filled with mythical creatures. But he still has his comical moments, mainly because of his mannerisms, like when he's making a joke, but looks so serious that no one realizes it's a joke.
Can't figure out how to kill that thing, so we keep it around for garbage disposal. And for recruits that don't make the grade. It's a joke, Vincent.
Yes, sir.
You can point that out at the next Special Unit National Convention.
There's no conventions. That's a joke. Right.
You're catching on, Benson.
He even has his own running gag. Basically, when funny stuff happens to his prosthetic middle hand.
That's what a liberal arts education gets you these days.
Easy twist off my ass.
Of 1 barn, 7 cows, 3 tractors, and 1 of my favorite hands.
Then we have my favorite character on the show, Carl, played by Danny Woodburn, aka Big Figure and Mickey Abbott, though you probably couldn't recognize him under all that makeup. Carl is a link, specifically a 400-year-old gnome, but Woodburn doesn't play him in an over-the-top way. He plays him as an unpersonable yet engaging character. He's jaded like O'Malley, but doesn't have all the angst. He basically reacts to everything in the same way the audience would, sometimes. As a gnome, he's very cowardly, but unlike most gnomes, he still has enough courage to face other links. But he still looks for excuses to get out of a situation when things get too dangerous. He acts so nonchalant about everything, including when he's trying to make up an excuse on the spot. In other words, he's a likable asshole. He acts as a unit snitch due to all the times he's been arrested for thievery. He provides the exposition on the Link's behavior in the modern world. You see, the show does have a few characters that provide scientific exposition, but sometimes scientific exposition doesn't explain everything about Link, just mainly the biology of a Link. So having someone in touch with the Link community allows for more information on the modern behavioral patterns of Links that scientific info has missed, ensuring the unit to find ways of catching and killing Links based on formal and informal intel. This makes him valuable to the precinct, even if the other characters don't realize it because he's a Link and a petty crook. That's actually one of the reasons why O'Malley and Carl have such a bitter, almost sibling rivalry. The other reason being Carl never takes anything seriously, so he can't take O'Malley seriously as a threat. This aggravates O'Malley so much. They always try to outbanter each other. And when O'Malley loses, which is usually the case, he resorts to more childish actions.
That's it.
And finally, for now at least, we have Sean, a Link biologist who's stuck working at the precinct due to his ruined reputation. He was going to be one of the youngest professors in the field until he stumbled upon the existence of Links and tried to expose them to the academia. Everyone thought he was crazy, his reputation was ruined, and so here he is. This made him jaded with a very dry sense of humor, suitable for his nasally voice. It just shows why they picked Sean Walden for the role. It also shows the writers are not very creative when it comes to names.
You know, for all that pirates are clever cogs, we are an unimaginative lot when it comes to naming things.
Right.
I once sailed with a geezer, lost both of his arms, part of his eye.
What'd you call him?
Larry.
Despite being uncomfortable with his job, he's very confident in his scientific knowledge of Links. I think he even sounds like he's having a small orgasm whenever he's spouting exposition. But honestly, Sean is basically O'Malley if O'Malley was a stereotypical nerd. Then we move on to season 2, where quite a few changes take place. They changed the set a little. From what I can tell, they expanded it, shortened the space between the floor and the ceiling, and brightened the lighting.
You've had this place redecorated, haven't you? Don't like it.
I actually really don't like the redesign of the set. The old design really did look like it was in an abandoned subway. Such a unique yet down-to-earth location which fits the, let's say, style of the unit perfectly. The redesign of the set looks like it's been done on a soundstage. Okay, it's possible the first set design really was an abandoned subway and it didn't have access to it anymore by the second season, so they tried to recreate it. But I honestly can't confirm that, and it's hard to tell if that is the case. Other changes are much more welcome. Sean is replaced by Jonathan, played by Jonathan Togo, who also played a scientist on CSI Miami, who is a biologist as well, but seemingly much younger than Sean and therefore much more awkward and enthusiastic. Which works. You see, the writers made Jonathan as opposite to Sean as he could, so he won't just be known as the replacement. Kind of like how AC/DC replaced Bon Scott with Brian Johnson. They didn't want just another Bon Scott. No one could replace Bon Scott, but Brian Johnson was just what the band wanted to keep rocking.
Are you seriously comparing an Australian rock band that lasted over 4 decades to a short-lived, low-budget television program?
Yeah, it's a bit of a stretch, but at least I'm not making any more Atomic Robo references. So Jonathan is a nervous newbie. He's not used to providing information as much as Sean did. But Jonathan gets used to spanning exposition because of his enthusiasm. He sounds like he doesn't take enough deep breaths, and sometimes he can't help himself from going on and on about a link. But still, another change to the show is the inclusion of a new character, Alice Kramer, one of the few characters not to be named after an actor, who happens to be Polly Perrette. Alice is in charge of public relations, meaning she has to make up lies to make sure the media and the public in general don't find out about links. She's by far the most relatable character, realistically casual yet a little quirky in her own right. No doubt building up to her most well-known role, Abby from NCIS. Despite being a new character, she doesn't stick out like a sore thumb since her personality suits the tone of the show. Her job is to lie. She's damn good at it, and she loves it.
Well, I gotta get to work. I saw that pain in the ass from Channel 8 outside.
Well, what are you going to tell him?
Well, with a 911 call on a corpse, it's gonna be a little hard to convince him that nothing happened here.
Understandable, so?
So, when general persuasion, doctored evidence, and wholesale lies don't work, it's time for blackmail. I'm just gonna threaten to tell his wife what's really going on. Me and him are having an affair.
Are you?
Of course not.
She's good.
I have a statement.
Can you tell us why the police have cordoned off the area? What's going on?
There's absolutely no reason to panic. There was just a toxic chemical spill, a small one, inside the museum. Solvents used to restore artwork. That's all.
Is there any danger to the public?
On the record, the official position is people have nothing to worry about.
How about off the record?
Well, we'll just pray that the wind doesn't change.
The biggest change is the inclusion of a story arc at long last, or really the beginning of a story arc due to the show's length. It started off with an episode which was pretty much a homage of Silence of the Lambs. Chameleon Mark Shepard reveals he was hired to kill O'Malley's old partner, Julie, because she found out about the Big Bad's plan. The episode also reveals O'Malley was in a romantic relationship with Julie, which actually bothers me a little. I was perfectly fine with O'Malley being angry because he lost a great partner who was also a mother, not just because he loved her. What is so wrong with having a male character lose a female best friend? What, platonic relationships don't exist in this world? A tragic loss of a platonic friend of the opposite sex hasn't been done before. Well, maybe it has, but it's rarely done. Then, in the Halloween episode, we finally meet the big bad of the show, who is nameless. Yeah, he's so ancient that he's nameless and apparently behind every major evil deed ever.
What in God's name are you talking about?
Ooh. Interesting that you should bring him up, since he has so thoroughly abandoned each one of you. So eager to judge and punish his creations for their transgressions, even though they just mirror his own. Read the Old Testament if you want to learn about real violence, incest, patricide, fratricide, rape, pillage, and some truly creative mutilations. You are all amateurs in comparison.
Well, they do refer to him as the King of Lynx, so that's something I can call him. The King of Lynx, played by John D. Lancey, who you may know as Q from Star Trek The Next Generation, brings a few infamous criminals back to life, including Al Capone, in order to get a key, which opens a statue, which gives him a ring, which will supposedly give him the power to control Lynx. A plan that Julie figured out before getting killed. He's a typical mastermind, pun not intended, but Lancey plays the role in such a cheesy manner that you just become mesmerized by him. Well, when you have makeup like that, you kind of have to. And that shiny hood. At least they didn't keep him in the shadows. I wouldn't want the show to end before I can actually see him. So, what is he exactly?
But as the legend goes, tens of thousands of years ago, when the evolutionary tree branched off and we got our so-called missing links, there was one creature that was closer than any to humans. Now, he tried to rule the links, and he was partly successful until some sort of fall from grace about 5 millennia ago. Some sources think there's some overlap with biblical references to the devil.
Yep. They're going up against the devil. Sorta. Close enough. Despite how cheesy he can be, he has no problem killing anyone in cold blood for his plan to continue. Like the devil, if you make a deal with him, you're screwed. The best part about him is whenever he's around, frickin' zombies are with him. But he's such a competent villain as well. He never improvises anything. Everything he does is planned. In fact, I don't want to spoil the Halloween episode's twist. It just shows how well he plans everything. But let's just say, in the end, they blew him up. Or did they?
The only thing we can't find a trace of is him. No remains whatsoever.
Since we have no idea what he's actually made of, we can't tell if he just vaporized.
Or he got away.
Which we don't think is possible.
Except Special Unit 2 lives in a world where the line between possible and impossible is frequently vague. One thing is for certain. If this abomination survived, he will return and try to reclaim his kingdom by any means necessary. Special Unit 2 will be there to stand in his way.
Yep. They cancelled the show before the King of Lynx could make another appearance, or even before a much bigger story arc involving him could start. Now, the Halloween episode, The Eve, wasn't the last episode of Special Unit 2 ever. There were a few standalone episodes afterwards. Most of Season 2 had standalone episodes, actually. It was just the only season out of the two that had a storyline. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is, this is the last thing we see before the show was cancelled.
Carl.
Penelope.
That's for standing me up. Twice.
How disappointing is that? I would rather see the King of Lynx come back for one more showdown than this. Why was Special Unit 2 cancelled? No one knows the real reason. It's either because its network, the UPN, was dying at the time, or because the creators of a pen and paper RPG called Bureau 13 noticed some striking similarities between the game and the show. Frankly, I can't confirm either theory. Nevertheless, it's amazing this show even exists. It has every monster imaginable. Gargoyles, gnomes, werewolves, mummies, talking heads, spider girls, fat monsters, mermen, the Sandman, shape-shifting lizard people, the boogeyman, banshees, zombies, gorgons, dragons, fire devils, living scarecrows, monsters under the bed, centaurs, and etc. Now, I'm not a fan of horror monsters like werewolves being put in the same world as fantasy creatures like gnomes, since I believe when it comes to a narrative's mythos, all of the pieces should fit together seamlessly. But it works on Special Unit 2 because it's a comedy. And fantasy comedies usually could get away with a fantasy kitchen sink because the point of these shows is to have fun with the creatures included. Strangely enough, despite having every mythical creature crammed into the show, Special Unit 2 has no vampires. What? I know, right? They even say that straight away in the first episode.
Except vampires.
Vampires.
Complete, total fiction. Never heard of anything so ridiculous in my entire life.
It's so damn weird. Almost every urban fantasy / horror show out there has vampires. It's even weirder when you realize this show was made when Buffy the Vampire Slayer was on air. I have mixed feelings about this, considering the reason links exist is that they are a part of human evolution. You would think the people behind the show would include the most human monster of all and put their own spin on it. But at the same time, I'm glad. It allows more focus on monsters that usually don't get that much attention to begin with. Now that I think about it, this show, in a lot of ways, is the opposite of Buffy. Okay, maybe I'm not the right person to say that since I barely even watch Buffy. I just know enough to point out all the differences between Special Unit 2 and Buffy. I'll probably get around to watching Buffy when I decide to review it. Cambot, enough with those captions. That gag got old when you started it. Stop milking it. I know about those captions too, Cambot. They're getting just as old. When Buffy became a huge hit, lots of shows were made at the time to either capitalize its success or parody the show. So at the first glance, you might think Special Unit 2 was just a Buffy ripoff, until you actually watch it and see all the differences. Buffy's dark with light moments, Special Unit 2's light with a few dark moments. Buffy rolls around a small group of teenagers and a mentor. Special Unit 2 revolves around 2 adults working in an official secret precinct of the police department. Buffy's monsters are explained through demonology. Special Unit 2's monsters are explained through science. Buffy takes place in a small town. Special Unit 2 takes place in a city, Chicago. Buffy characters rely on magic, special powers, and fighting. Special Unit 2 characters have no powers whatsoever, so they rely on stakeouts and high-tech firearms. Buffy has vampires bloody everywhere. Special Unit 2 has no vampires whatsoever. You get the idea. Even the humor was different. They're both good, just different. Buffy was witty, while Special Unit 2 was more tongue-in-cheek. You could say that was more like Angel than Buffy. But because Angel is a spin-off of Buffy, it follows the same universe rules involving demonology and magic. The character's only official position with the law was with a law firm, not the police. With that said, I appreciate how Special Unit 2 was trying to do its own thing. It worked in their favor.
It really does help. More focus on other monsters helps the audience know all about their world, no matter how short-lived the show is. But there is one thing that bothers me about the show's world. Special Unit 2 itself. The way Special Unit 2 works is a little shady. They can arrest Lynx, but according to the unit, Lynx don't have any rights whatsoever, despite most of them being as intelligent as humans. So the unit can able to kill them rather than arrest them. And they have. Okay, I get they have to take drastic actions when it comes to non-intelligent Lynx who have the unstoppable urge to cause death and destruction, like the living Scarecrow. But most of the other Lynx they faced are intelligent enough to talk back, and the unit still kills them. I mean, sure, those Lynx are murderers, but you can arrest murderers, not kill them on the spot, all because they're not truly human. Hell, they do talk about this on the show, and they still kill anyway.
Sean, are you still upset about us needing to kill this thing?
Needing to kill this thing? You're starting to sound like O'Malley.
That's harsh.
I'm just questioning the logic. Special Unit 2 is not an extermination service. Our job isn't to just kill anything that doesn't happen to be human.
Look, we've been over this, okay? It took a life, Sean.
And it is life. Something brand new, something potentially fascinating.
Then again, maybe the story arc was building up to the King of Lynx leading a revolution against humans and Special Unit 2, with Benson trying to come up with a compromise so Lynx could have rights without needing to resort to violence. But that's just my theory. But because the show didn't continue on to fix this problem, what's left of the show is a constant reminder that the police in the show are technically mistreating citizens who don't have rights. It makes an interesting social commentary, especially today, but I'm just annoyed about the lack of development regarding this issue. I just want at least one character in the show to realize the way the unit works is fucked up, and maybe they should do something about it, like take a different approach when it comes to catching criminals, or try to give Lynx rights.
Besides all that, when it comes to the entertainment value, how would I rate Special Unit 2? I'm gonna have to say B-.
It means Special Unit 2 is above average, but it's not perfect. The low budget is a bit obvious. I mean, most of the action is just cheap wire work. It's a little dated due to the number of 2000s references scattered about. And I wouldn't recommend binge watching Special Unit 2. The show's fun, but most of it consists of standalone episodes, so they can get a bit tiresome if you watch them all the way through. But then again, this show did give us an old lady with a high-tech gun.
Missed. These things haul ass.
And a mummy that knows martial arts. And Barney as a Pied Piper type monster brainwashing little kids. That doesn't sound as far-fetched as I thought it would. What makes this show unique is that despite being more comedic than dramatic, it shows the characters' lives as Special Unit 2 officers are not glamorous and that the system isn't perfect. Something that is rarely done with urban fantasy shows when writers tend to make their stories about bad monsters versus good humans.
So, what's the next show I'm going to pick out of the Randomizer 2000 and review? Nothing. Yep, I decided that for my 5th review, I'm going to do my first movie review.
But miss, you haven't done 4 reviews. You have done 1 introduction video, 2 videos that are each one part of a review, and now this review contained completely in 1 video. You have done only 2 reviews so far.
I know, I got impatient. So, originally, I was going to make my 5th review my first movie review. But because I just can't wait, I decided that my 5th video should be my first movie review. And technically speaking, I have done 4 videos so far. So why no Randomizer 2000 for this? Well, I don't pick my films randomly. How do I pick them? Fan requests. That's right, you guys get to pick what movie I should review. Just comment below on whatever website you find this video on. YouTube, Tumblr, Manic Expression, or whatever. But there are a few rules. I mean, there is an introduction video about the rules, but that video is excruciatingly long. And I'm really sorry for that. It was my first video, so yeah. Rule number 1, this is probably the most obvious one. Only movies that were released between 2000 and 2009. Rule number 2, it doesn't have to be a bad movie. It can be, but it can also be a good movie or a debatable one, just one you want me to review, really. Rule number 3, it doesn't have to be a feature film. Now, I'm not saying I want to review an independent film. Lots of other reviewers reviewed independent films much better. I'm just saying it could also be a direct-to-something film or a TV movie or whatever. Okay, rule number 4, no requesting these movies. My reasons why are on the introduction video, and I'm really sorry for having to send you there because my first video, excruciatingly long, you heard all that. So yeah, thanks for watching and see you next time.
Open the cash register now, bitch.
Don't think so.